In 1933, the United States stood on the brink of chaos. The Great Depression had gutted the economy. Unemployment was at record highs. Bread lines stretched for blocks. And overseas, a new political ideology, fascism, was on the rise. In Germany, Adolf Hitler had just come to power. In Italy, Mussolini's dictatorship was well underway. And here in America, some of the nation's wealthiest businessmen were watching and wondering. If democracy couldn't fix the crisis, maybe authoritarianism could. And so, according to one astonishing accusation, they hatched a plan to topple President Franklin D. Roosevelt and replace him with a dictator. Franklin D. Roosevelt had been in office for just months when rumors began to swirl. His sweeping New Deal programs, designed to pull America out of the Depression, were deeply unpopular among certain circles of industry and finance. Powerful bankers, industrialists, and corporate leaders feared he was steering the country toward socialism. And with the memory of World War I still fresh, they worried that FDR's policies would wreck the capitalist system entirely. But instead of simply lobbying against him, some of these figures allegedly considered a much more drastic solution. Their plan needed a leader, someone Americans respected, someone with the charisma to command soldiers. They chose Major General Smedley Butler. Butler was no ordinary soldier. A two-time Medal of Honor recipient, he was a decorated Marine veteran who had fought in multiple wars. He was a national hero, widely admired by both veterans and the public. The conspirators allegedly approached Butler with an offer: raise an army of 500,000 World War I veterans, march on Washington, and remove Roosevelt from power. The new government would keep FDR as a powerless figurehead, while real authority shifted to a Secretary of General Affairs, a role that would function much like a fascist dictator. Butler listened to their proposal, and then he played along. But not because he supported them. Far from it. He pretended to be interested, gathering as much information as he could. Names, organizations, funding sources. Once he had enough, Butler went straight to Congress. In November 1934, Butler testified before the McCormick-Dickstein Committee, the congressional body investigating UN American activities. He told them everything: the meetings, the promises of money, the talk of fascist regimes in Europe as a model for America. He named names, influential bankers, Wall Street brokers, and executives from some of the country's biggest corporations. According to Butler, the plotters had vast resources at their disposal. Money would be no problem. Support from disgruntled veterans would be easy to rally. And they believed the American public, desperate for stability, would follow. The committee took Butler's testimony seriously. Their final report confirmed that there was evidence of a plan to establish a fascist-style dictatorship. However, no one was prosecuted. The report was quietly filed away. Much of the evidence was sealed, and mainstream newspapers treated the story as if it were a bizarre rumor rather than a national scandal. Why? Some historians argue that the accused were simply too powerful to be taken down. Others think the government feared a public panic if the full truth came out. If Butler hadn't blown the whistle, America might have faced something unthinkable: a coup d'etat backed by the nation's elite, replacing democracy with a corporate-run authoritarian state. It's worth remembering that in 1933, the idea of fascism didn't yet carry the stigma it does today. Many in the world saw Mussolini's Italy or Hitler's Germany as models of order and strength in chaotic times. The business plot could have shifted American history onto a terrifying path, one that mirrored the darkest chapters of Europe's 20th century. General Butler himself later summed it up in stark terms. "I appeared before the Congressional Committee, the highest representation of the American people, and told them what I knew of the fascist conspiracy." Whether you believe every detail of Butler's story or not, the fact remains. A decorated war hero testified, under oath, that America's democracy was nearly hijacked by some of its own wealthiest citizens. It's a chapter of history few people know, but one worth remembering, because democracy's greatest threats sometimes come from within.